Welcome back, all the YouTubers watching the Sound Mind Guru. This is Absolute Style. I'm back to ask Brandon a few questions. He'll do most of the talking, but I want to know a little bit too. And I'm going to ask what you guys may be thinking.
Hey YouTube viewers, we're back with episode 5. And I just want to start out by saying that you have to value yourself. So this episode we're going to be talking about value. We're going to be talking about how to appreciate that value. We're going to be talking about what to look out for that's going to be depreciative of your value. You have to walk it like you talk it. Let's get right into it.
Okay, amigos. Okay, so my first question is, what is value? How would you define value?
Okay, so the definition of value is the regard that something is held, and this is in my notes. So the regard that something is held to deserve, the importance, worth, or usefulness of something. So it's quality. It's the quality of life. It's the quality of how you perceive your life should be. And when you know that about yourself, primarily you know what God thinks about you, right? You know how he looks at you. You value yourself because you know you're made with the fabric of the highest qualities.
Tying in last week's episode with this week, we talked about identity last week.
Yes.
How would you tie in identity to value?
Well, I definitely see identity and value intertwining, because when you have identity, it's the I that I talked about last episode. And with that I, you have the next letter, which is D. So you have the ID. And ID is the initials of identification. When you have somebody's ID, you can identify who they are. And then when you talk about value, you talk about identifying, identification, and the I is the close correlation to what that person's all about. And that is something that's of value or something that is not so much of value. But really it comes down to how I perceive myself. It doesn't matter what everybody else says about you.
Everyone's values could be different, but what does a person with values look like?
A person with values moves in an ethical manner. They do what's right, even when nobody else is looking. Their quality of life is the same in front of people and when they're by themselves, right? And that's closely associated with identity, right? Because we talked about the 6 identities that people perform under different audiences. And so they're one way with one audience, another way with another audience, so on and so forth. But when you can be the same through and through in all your different outlets, from friends, parents, teachers, social media outlets, then guess what? You're of value. You carry a completeness, a wholeness, and you carry yourself in that high value. You esteem yourself highly, but not bigger than you ought to.
That's awesome. How do I close out the opinions that people may have about me that could possibly affect the way I value or see myself?
Yeah, well, really it comes down to confidence, right? You got to have that inner confidence, and you have to be at peace with that inner confidence, right? And that'll make it easier to block out the things that other people are saying that will be trying to diminish your value. So when you know how you feel about yourself, you know how God sees you, then other people's opinions are irrelevant. They don't really matter. And so you're able to block them out. Also, if you have a lot of people around you that are sharpening you, because iron sharpens iron, then guess what? You're strengthening yourself within, and what we're seeing within, we're seeing outwardly.
Nice. So you would say confidence is one thing, but then there's also self-love, and they're two different things, but they go hand in hand.
Yes.
So I have to love myself, but at the same time have confidence in the way I love myself.
Right.
And through that value of how I value myself, how would you say that affects the way other people value me?
Right. Well, we could compare it to the nicest car, right? We could compare it to a Lamborghini or a Rolls Royce, right? By itself, it's a beautiful car. Everybody knows it's elegant. But then, if you have that car, how will you treat that car? Well, you would want to treat it with that same elegance and care. So, by yourself, you can feel confident, but then it goes together with self-love, because self-love is how you care for yourself.
So what are some of the ways that I can express self-love to myself?
Right. Well, there's power of life and death in the tongue, right? What we speak every day. If we're speaking positivity, it's an inward reflection of who we are and how we care for our soul, how we treat other people, how we talk to them. Do we show kindness, right? Do we show love? Do we show compassion for other people? That is a strong indication about self-love, because we care that much about ourselves that we want to be treated that way, right? So we treat other people the same way. That's self-love. When you come from a good background, or even if you don't come from a good background, right? But we know how God created us all to be, to love thy neighbor, right? Well, guess what? We'll have that self-love because we're created out of love, and we know that we should show love.
From what you just said, I would think that the way that I love others, I should be showing that same love to myself.
Yeah, well, and vice versa. If you want other people to show you love, right, then they're going to look at you and how you carry yourself and say, you know what, I should treat that person with love because that person looks like love. That person carries themselves like love.
That's good.
They carry themselves with a level of high quality.
That's good. That's really good. What do you think is so makes it so hard for people to love themselves?
Yeah, I think it really starts with relationships. Your first relationships here on earth is with your parents. And sometimes it can be rocky. But I'm here to tell you that even if you've had rocky relationships with your parents and your upbringing, or maybe you were raised by your grandparents, whomever they may be, that still doesn't mean that if you were treated badly, that you go on and treat yourself badly as you get older. You know more. If you know more, then now you can do more, right? So you know better, now you can treat yourself better and you could treat other people better. But see, we have a Father, right? We have a Heavenly Father that also is the perfect example. If we didn't have that great example in the house that we could go to and we can see His characteristics of how we should treat ourselves and treat other people, and have a sound mind about it, I mean, we can have peace about it, knowing that, you know what, we have the ultimate value.
That's so good. That's so, so good. What can I do to feel happy inside? So say there's so many things that we can wake up and say, oh my gosh, I have a fat pimple on my face, or oh my goodness, I don't like my weight right now. How can you still value yourself in those times that you don't feel like you're at your best, or you know you have some work to do?
Well, the grass withers and the flower fades, meaning that we all age, we're human, right? We can wake up, we've all had a pimple or two at some point in our life, and we can understand that, hey, we're just human, right? This pimple doesn't identify my value, right? Or the way I feel at the moment. Not everybody wakes up and just feels like jumping for joy, because we're human, we have emotions, we go through things, life hits all of us. But what we can do is we can constantly pump that positivity in ourselves by what we read, what we allow in our minds, our bodies, and our souls, right? Through our ears, through our senses. We've been given these senses for a reason, right? So for all the young people that's growing up, you're still developing, right? And you're developing your senses, right? Your eyesight is getting a little sharper, right? Not just from a physical standpoint, but from a wisdom standpoint, right? You're able to see things that you're like, oh, this is what my teacher meant. Oh, this is what my parents mean. You're starting to get certain things, right? And you're only going to continue to get more because you're growing, you're developing. But you're growing and you're developing through your eyes, what you see, which is your eye gate, your ear gate, what you hear, right? And all other senses of smell and the things that we say out of our mouth. There's so many ways that we can let in and we can let out. We can
Nice.
protect from coming in, and we can guard from coming out, right? And so with those things, uh, this is how you can uh, guard your heart against any negativity, but also you can allow positivity to come in, and you can put positivity in by what you listen to, what you read. They say that the first 15 minutes of the day, whatever you are listening to, positive or negative, can totally just set your whole day in motion, right? So if you're woken up by somebody screaming at you for whatever reason, right? Right now, you know, they got all type of construction going on where I live at, right? So it's loud first thing in the morning, and so now I got to reverse that, right? By going to something more peaceful, right? Whether it's listening to a sermon or a positive message, or being pumped up by a motivational speaker, or pumping myself up by going on a walk or doing something peaceful. But that sets my day in motion. And so we have to be proactive in that, right? That's the part that we play in making sure that we value ourselves and we're constantly maintaining the highest level of value.
Speak on the way you carry yourself and the type of values you have, because I know personally, for me, you as a woman, you attract a certain crowd when your values are a type of way,
Right.
and probably the same for a man. So what would you tell a young person who's up and coming, as far as setting their values and standing on those values when it comes to people approaching them, or people trying to attempt a relationship, or just start conversations that may not have even need to happen? How would you address those type of values and the difference it would have on you?
Right. So everybody's writing their own story, right? So everybody's watching, everybody's that's here living on earth, they're writing their own story, right? Everybody has a story. So what are your chapters going to look like? And from the intro into the ending of the story, what would you like that type of book to be? Do you want it to be a thriller, something scary, right? To where you're just living a life just of no value and just doing horrific things or allowing horrific things to be done to you, right? Or are you going to say this is an adventurous book, right? Because we got different categories that your story can be. But you're writing your own story. Is it comedy, where you want to chill and you want to chill? And how much can you just chill and have fun before you get serious and say, okay, this is where I need to go in life. This is what I need to do to get there. Value, right? So we're all writing our own story. What's going to be in your book, right? And so as you write the pages of your story, it's all based on your decisions. We talked about sound mind from the very beginning. Episode 2, I honed into what sound mind is, right? And it's based on your decisions. And that's the journey. And through that journey has as much value as you're willing to allow that journey to have. It's your story. Can't anybody take that away from you, right? And through those experiences that you're writing, grow from them, learn from them, value them. Because the lessons, if you don't catch them, will repeat themselves.
That's good.
And the idea of thinking that you're going to get somewhere by doing the same thing over again and over again, and you're going to get to a different place, is absolutely ludicrous. It's insane. So if you want to get to where you want to go, your ultimate destination, you're writing those pages in your book right now. And so if you need to do something different, don't be afraid to step out there, have courage and do it. That's value, that you say, hey, look, you know what? I want to have a good life. So I'm going to do these things. I'm going to value myself. And it's through valuing yourself that when other people come along in different relationships, they're going to value you too. I feel that a lot of different, young girls, teenagers, they get into different relationships, men or women, right? But at a young age, girls or boys, right? Those relationships that are good or bad, right, is what that other person is willing for that person to do. They got to give that person permission to treat them a certain way. Allow yourself to be treated with care, with love, with high value. Right? The way God wants you to be treated, the way He created you to be treated. All right? You shouldn't have to stand for anything less. You shouldn't have to settle for anything less. There's millions and billions of people in this world. Right? So don't be anxious for nothing.
Okay, let's wrap this up with my final thing. What would you give the viewers one thing that they can do daily to increase their self-love, to increase their self-value?
Yeah. Something that they can do daily to increase their self-love, increase their self-value. You know what? Work on yourself. Invest in yourself. So many people today are just not willing to invest in themselves. They want so many people to invest in them, invest in their business idea, invest in in whatever it is that they're doing, right? Invest by coming to watch them perform in a play or a sporting event. Well, you know what? If I'm gonna come watch you guys in a sporting event or in an extracurricular activity, I want a good performance. Meaning, I want to know that you put your best foot forward, that you built up this high quality in yourself, this self-love, that you care about your performance, you care about how you represent you, your family, right, your friends, your loved ones. And so invest in yourself. Whatever it is that you like to do, work hard at it, work your land, right? And the more you do that, the more you invest in yourself. Don't be afraid to buy certain things like books or things that you may need to build yourself up. Because when you're able to do something greater than anybody else is able to do, right? Your gifting, your skill level, you're putting you're investing into it, then somebody's willing to come and pay you for it. Because guess what? You're entertaining them, and it's a beauty to sit back and watch somebody flow in their gift, flow in their talent and their ability. And so that's one thing that you can do, is invest in yourself. You know, when I was playing basketball, they didn't allow me to just play. I wanted to walk on the basketball court. I thought I had the freedom to do so because it was a public playground. I didn't. They didn't let me play. And I cried, and I didn't want to play the game of basketball anymore. But guess what? It was going back, realizing that just because I stepped up to play for the first time, I can't expect to be Michael Jordan. I'm going to have to put a little bit of time into it. And I did every day, and I got better, and then I was able to play. And guess what? Those people I was playing against weren't that good anymore because I've surpassed them because I worked that hard. Whatever it is that you want to do, carry it with value, right? When we say have pride in the way you do things, that doesn't mean you're prideful, thinking yourself greater than you ought to, right? It's knowing that, hey, I have pride in the way I look, right? In the way I look, in the way I carry myself, right? Not because I'm conceited, no, right? Because I'm a child of the living God, and guess what? That carries value. So I want to represent him well in the way I do things, because somebody's always watching. That's the thing. Somebody's always watching you guys. Whether you realize it or not, you may not see a physical being in sight, but somebody's always watching. Because guess what? If it's not a human being, God himself is watching. So you want to carry yourself with high value. You want to carry yourself, represent yourself well, and you want to invest in yourself. And the ways you could do that is by willing to put in the time if you don't necessarily have all the resources. And I'll tell you one thing, when you do that, other people will be willing to come along and help you. They'll be willing to come along and just invest in you because they see that you've invested in yourself. But if you haven't at least took the time to do that and invest in yourself, then who's going to want to invest in you? And it goes for it's the same way when it comes to people showing you love, people treating you a certain way of high value. When they see you carry yourself that way, they're going to respect you, respect that, and treat you the same way. And you know what? It's going to be a small percentage of people that don't. And they're who I call ignorant. They don't know, right, what they do. And they may treat you unfairly. But guess what? That shouldn't allow you to shrink into being a discount version of yourself, right? Because you want to live in your fullness, right? In the ability that God's given you, right? So what you do is just, bless them. You know what I mean? Because they don't know what they do. All right? And that's how you keep guard over your heart and carry high value.
That is a wrap. That's episode 5, you guys. Be back next week for another hot topic. It's going to be good. Each week we're working on self-improvement, guys, and it's getting so good. He's pointing down to that subscribe button. If you already haven't, subscribe this, share this with somebody, and just value yourself.
Yeah.
Hold yourself to high regard. You guys are made in the image of God, and that's the highest value person on the planet, which is every single one of us. So love yourself the way God loves you. And I'm telling you, people are going to start to love you the same way.
Yes.
And even if they don't, your love alone for yourself is powerful.
And listen, people, life is short. So make an impact, right? Make an impact. Treat yourself with high value. Allow yourself to be treated with high value. And it can get contagious.
Yes.
It can change this whole world.
Yes.
One person at a time.
Yes.
All right. This is Sound Mind Guru, and we are out of here. Till next time. And stay tuned for episode 6, because it's going to be fire.
Yeah, everything around me